What's something your parent did that would for sure get them canceled today? Growing up, my stepdad forced me to eat things like gone-off chicken and even roasted bugs under the guise of a stronger immune system. He went to jail after deliberately giving me peanuts despite knowing I was allergic, and sometime later after I went through extensive therapy, I was diagnosed with ARFID, Avoidant Restrictive Food Intake Disorder. I'd only eat food that I felt safe with, and at one point, the only food I ate for a month straight was sour cream, and this one boy named Jeremy at school was the biggest jerk about it. He would constantly mock me during lunch and throw his leftovers at me. But one day, he took it too far, and he pulled out a container of Spam meat and dumped it in my bowl of sour cream. I held back tears when I looked at my now soiled lunch and listened to his mocking chants behind me. Eat it, he said, and before I knew it, he grabbed it and stuffed it into my face. Fearing for my life, I couldn't handle it, and I threw up all over the table. Ironically, most of it landed on Jeremy. I got in trouble by my teacher and was sent home that day. And when I told my mom what happened, she shook her head before throwing on her devious little smirk. That's when I knew something was up. The next day, as she picked me up from school, she grabbed my arm and we started following Jeremy home. I asked her why we were following him, but she insisted that I was going to love it. And once we got to a fairly empty street, we ran up to Jeremy. "Heard you were forcing Amelia to eat nasty meat," she said. Jeremy's eyes opened wide, and he shook his head and stuttered an excuse of wanting to do it for the sake of expanding my palate. But my mom knew not to put up with his BS, and she ordered him to the floor before she pulled a can from her bag. "You're going to eat this entire thing in front of us and say how much you love it," she said, placing a can of cat food in front of him. It smelled horrible, and I covered my nose. Jeremy shook his head and tears streamed down his face, but my mom insisted. "Since you think it's okay to make fun of other kids, you're learning a lesson the hard way." So he started eating the cat food, and it was a nasty sight, but it wasn't over. Once he was done, my mom looked him dead in the eyes and said, "You know what cat food is made of?" He shook his head no. She then said, "It's made of roadkill, which is what you will be next time I hear about you picking on my daughter."